Good evening, welcome everyone. Glad to have you all here. We are on item C, adoption of the formal agenda. Are there any changes, commissioners? Commissioner Sykes?
Yeah, I'd like to move that we move item H, reports and legislation, up during just after communications.
Commissioners, I need a motion or a support for that, if you wish.
Why?
Mainly because I think that the city clerk's report, including the demands from our homeless activists, are of the utmost importance, and I think that the way that we structure and organize our agenda demonstrates the level of importance that we place on those demands, and so I'd like to suggest that they should open our meeting and not end our meeting.
I see. Thank you.
So, could you repeat the request?
Yep, I move that item H, reports and legislation, be moved up to follow item D, communications.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cooney.
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham.
Yes.
Commissioner Sykes.
Yes.
Commissioner Urban. Vice Mayor Knott. Mayor Hopewell.
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson.
Yes. Thank you, motion carried.
I don't have a question for the manager. I've asked to be recognized.
Oh, I was just going to move to the next item.
Okay, I'd like to move that we discuss the homeless encampment's demands under new business, and would ask that City Clerk Borling would go ahead and read those over for us again, and then for us to open it up for public comment.
I have a motion. Motion fails. We are now at citizens' comments on any item this evening. Please step forward. You'll have 4 minutes. Give us your name and whether you live within the city. Seeing no one, we are now at citizens or commissioners' comments. Commissioner Sykes.
Well, y'all already know we're gonna be here for a while, so let's all get comfortable. The opposite of love is not hate. It's apathy. I used to do youth development work. I've talked about it a lot with Great Lakes Peace Jam, and I had the opportunity to take a trip to Ann Arbor to work for the entire day with some youth who came here from Iraq to come up with solutions to take back home to their communities. And people kept talking about love versus hate, love versus hate, love versus hate. And one girl raised her hand and she said, and she was like 15, the opposite of love is not hate, it's apathy. We are being apathetic. I am legitimately appalled. Like, I can't get more, I can't be more disappointed with this body. I'm ashamed. You all should be ashamed. The decision not to allow discussion on this was a cowardly move. That was a decision of cowards. Point blank. You can't have a conversation with our residents? Which one of y'all is going out there to sleep in the park? Which one of y'all wants to go join me and sleep in the mud out there on Cedar? Y'all ain't got time to talk about it? Y'all ought to be ashamed. I'm gonna move real slow tonight, y'all. Mayor Hopewell, we are not renters. If we were, our rent would be past due. Stop trying to find excuses for silencing the people, period. Say what it is. It is what it is. I am in power up here, and I said you can't talk. Don't clap too loud, you'll be disruptive. But see, the truth is, we're not disrupting them because they're the ones making the noise. Their noise disrupts our ability to think. Is that what's happening? Y'all, I am livid. And you know what? It's so funny. I told my husband, I told him earlier today and last night, you need to send some positive energy in my direction because I am angry and I'm trying so hard to maintain my composure. And you know what? Nah, I'm good. So, historical context. I don't like to operate without historical context. I feel like historical context is very important to help us decide the right way to move on things. So, article from 2007. Kalamazoo area homeless activists Monday evoked the memory of a woman whose body was found last month on the steps of the Kalamazoo County Courthouse to make their point that homeless residents need help. 2007. Homeless activists say the county's housing assistance program isn't doing enough to help homeless residents like Davis. 2007. I wasn't around here. Somebody want to tell me why we weren't doing what we're supposed to be doing now back then? Since we all doing the right thing up here, right? We're all doing our best. Some of us been here that long. I'm not even, you know what? I'm not even gonna go into that one. Let's try another article. 2007. Members of an affordable housing partnership were to meet at Western Michigan University's Fetzer Center today to discuss progress in combating homelessness in Kalamazoo County. Yay! The Local Initiatives Support Corporation's Affordable Housing Partnership is in its first year of a 10-year plan to end homelessness here. The partnership also will determine goals for 2008. Local Initiatives Support Corporation, LISC? A partnership with LISC? To end affordable housing? Huh? Because I believe that's the same thing we are supposed to trust today, that we will end affordable housing 10 years from now. Y'all think y'all talking to people who are stupid and we are not. So, I'm interested. I'm real interested in how suddenly it's going to work this time, but it didn't work before. Do not tell me what you do to address homelessness in a boardroom. I don't want to hear it. Guess what? It's not working. So what you do in a boardroom matters not. You know where the solution will be found? On the street with the people. You want to learn more about it? Get your behind out there and sit down on the pavement and have a conversation. And you'll find out, Commissioner Anderson, why you got folks in the park not going out, supposedly not going out to better their situation. You will find out why all of your work has not addressed this issue. Our service providers. Let me back up. An interesting thought occurred to me tonight. And I know, a black woman comes into a space, into a meeting and says, hey, I actually studied gentrification. I studied it. I did research on it. I wrote reports on it. Guess what? It's happening here. And we need to do something to stop it before it gets worse. And I was in a meeting with Commissioner Knott where I was assured by both my fellow commissioners, Commissioner Milzarek, I love you. I know at one time you trusted this administration. Where I was assured by both my colleagues and our staff, well, we haven't seen any signs of that yet. But when we see signs, we'll address it. And guess what the black woman in the room said? Guys, if you wait till you see it, it's too late. I get to hear about you, the housing expert, right? I'm asking, did anybody in those first meetings, did y'all actually know what gentrification meant? Because your eyes used to glass over and we would all move on. And so it dawned on me tonight, y'all actually don't know. We had to have a citizen read the Webster's Dictionary. Are y'all for real? I'm sorry, I know I'm insulting a lot of people up here, out there, on TV. So what? We are creating displacement. We are creating it, sometimes intentionally. And don't y'all dare sit up here and lie and say, we ain't never done nothing, we ain't never thought about nothing that might intentionally displace folks because it's in the interest of the good of our community. But then we got the audacity to say something about, well, they just need to pick up and go and check out some services and everything will be rosy. We create displacement, and then our service providers decide who is worthy of support. Guess what? When I was homeless and sleeping in a car in the middle of winter, freezing my ass off, I was not worthy of support. You know who gave me a roof over my head? Drug addicts. You know who fed me? Drug addicts. Y'all, I mean, look, I'm the youngest one up here. I think you might have me beat by a little bit. You're the youngest. Okay, fine, I'll give you that. But here's what I'm gonna say. I may be the youngest, but I seem to have lived a whole lot more than y'all have. Because y'all don't know shit. And I'm calling it. I'm calling it.
Hey, stand for that! Stand for that! Stand for that!
Come on, y'all, I got more. I appreciate that, but I got more.
Now, they need to know. They need to know.
When I ran for this office, I made it very, very clear that I was running for this seat because I could bring the voices of the people to this commission. Because I sat in this room with some of the folks who are in here now back in 2014, and y'all couldn't hear, those of y'all who were up here then, y'all couldn't hear us then. And so I said, I know, I'm gonna get up here, I'm gonna bring the voice. I'm sitting in meetings with y'all, y'all still can't hear me. Y'all still can't hear me. So guess what? I'm gonna keep getting louder and more obnoxious and less patience until y'all decide to listen. Otherwise, I tell y'all what, I don't know why. See, and my husband tells me it's hubris, and he's a very smart man, so he might be right. I can't figure out why. Some of us, I got a fellow political organizer up here. Y'all can't tell the winds is changing? The people have had enough. And they are not going to starve in the streets anymore without making a ruckus. I have had enough. I'm not going to keep playing nice with y'all when we've been talking about this behind closed doors for 3 years and we can't make a movement. keep hearing stuff about fights and drugs and alcohol. What the fuck do we expect? Oh, Shaw, I cussed. I think I'm going to be banned from the gospel mission. What do y'all expect? Are y'all... Can we talk about this? Y'all know there are people living with families on the street, in the elements, depressed and anxious and afraid with no food. Y'all want to talk to me about whether or not somebody drinks at the end of their day? Y'all can't be serious. Let me add this too, since we're all Democrats up here and we all know some of the same people. We all know a very prominent family who are Dems and were afforded the luxury of being born wealthy and do things after elections like take off on yachts. I bet everybody in here has heard that they do drugs. But you know what we're not doing? A sweep of their street. We're not sweeping their party house. It ain't an elected official in town who don't know exactly what I'm talking about right now. When the police go knock at their door. Transparency is divisive. I learned that over the last couple days. Transparency is divisive, and I'm the problem. Want to know when we were actually divided? We were divided in that meeting when I was told what I knew to be true was not true. We were divided, Mayor, when you suggested the answer to solving crime on the north side, over by Woodbury and Ada, was tearing down them row houses. We were divided, Don Cooney, when you kept saying the right stuff and I was so behind you and I was so impressed. But what you won't do, see, that Midwest nice has got you messed up. What you won't do is call them out. You would meet with people outside of here and talk about how frustrated you are because you can't move the initiatives forward that need to move forward. But you won't do that up here. You won't do that in public in an interview. So yeah, I respect your work. I respect your thought. But it ain't gonna go nowhere if we keep being silent. And that goes for the other conversations I've had over the last, 5 days. It's not gonna stop if we keep remaining silent. That's when we were divided. We were divided when we sold this city claiming we were gonna end generational poverty and then passed it and said, oh, oops, just kidding. I mean, y'all know we can't actually end generational poverty, but we'll work to address it. Right, we dressed up all nice to the announcement and everybody was celebrating and yay, we gonna end generational poverty. No, we not. We just gonna keep an income tax from going on the ballot because, God forbid, those who make millions in our city actually have to pay for the services of our city. I know, we'll let them pay for them. They should have done better. Y'all should have done better in school or something. I don't know, been born to better parents or something. Next time someone comes to Facebook to call me divisive, I'm gonna have to tell them to tell their loved ones to step the game up. And I will be divisive if it means refusing to stand on the side of injustice with y'all. So let's be very clear, because I don't want no confusion. I don't want to spend all night going back and forth arguing on Facebook about whether or not I'm divisive, right? So let's just call it right here for everybody in this audience, everybody watching at home. all of y'all and everybody's friends and families, please share. I am being divisive. I am way the fuck over here. Way over here. I heard somebody say it was safer having folks in the park. I agree. I agree. Remember that time when we were talking about Foundation for Excellence and how it's so awesome and the philanthropists were doing this because it was in our best interests, and you know, I pointed out that we all selling this program, but ain't none of us actually met these dudes before. And so y'all coordinated a couple of lunches with a couple of billionaires right up in an office overlooking Bronson Park. Very pretty office. And in one of those meetings, and I'll never forget this because I so appreciate him for helping me to learn in that moment what my definition of my role was. I heard Bill Parfett talking about how this money is going to afford us all this greatness. Business development, downtown, progress. And I kept saying, okay, but what about ending generational poverty? What is our plan? What is your plan? And he leaned back and he said, well, Commissioner, let me ask you this. What do you think it is your role is as a commissioner? And I said, you know what, that's a really good question. It's to take the power out of this boardroom that's sitting here with you and our city manager, and me, and the other commissioners present. And it's to take it out there in that park. I pointed in that direction. It is to take the power from those boardrooms, and the billionaires have been running our city since forever. And those of us who enable them to continue doing so, to take that power out to the park with the people it belongs to. So, I have heard from the people who matter in this conversation. And here's what we not gonna do. Sorry, I thought you got distracted there for a minute. I'm sure I'm over talking and you're not really enjoying this. But here's what we're not going to do. We're not going to leave people out in the elements with no shade to go from 90-degree heat to a thunderstorm with suspected tornadoes. Have y'all actually ever been out in one of those? It's kind of scary. Like, I've driven through one before. This is the first time I ever stood in one, ran around in one. Can you imagine my dismay in KDPS when they had just left from harassing folks? I got out my car to find them there. Multiple cars pulling up. I'm like, what's the deal? Why is there so many of y'all? What's the problem? Well, we don't know. We're still trying to figure it out. I'm listening to people say, it's really not that big of a deal. We just had a disagreement. Like, it's not that big of a deal. And yet they still trying to walk around and interview and see what's going on. But not that long after, the skies turned gray and the rain started pelting. I watched a tent be blown by the wind with a person in it. With a person in it. We called for help. I think Ed had to go home. The person that told Ed Genesis to call for help was me. And he said, Shannon, they said they're not gonna come out here. It's not an emergency because they choosing to be here. They don't have to be here. Well, help me understand where they supposed to go. Then we have an officer drive past and can't nobody be bothered to even stop to check. It's stuff blowing everywhere. And while we on the conversations of officers, do not wear the uniform representing the city of Kalamazoo and dog out the people you serve in their presence to other citizens. We don't want to talk about divisive. Because ain't nobody trying to get rid of them. I'm not. They not going nowhere because I'm not going nowhere. So all this, we hope we could get rid of them. I wish we could just get I wish. Nah, we gonna stay. We not gonna disrespect our residents. We not gonna lie on people. We not gonna claim that they're like shitting in the park and there's shit everywhere and all of this kind of stuff. And it's, you know, it's just needles everywhere. It's a really scary situation. We not gonna claim that, especially when I find out that like we not really walking through. And that was not at all what was happening. Folks want to talk about what they do, and maybe I don't do it out that way, but maybe I do it some other way. Well, then you best to at least lift up when people are lying on our homeless population in order to justify kicking them out. And here's another thing we not gonna do. We will not spend another 10 years sending out press releases for articles that make it look like we are solving the problem. Yo, media, like where y'all at? Y'all gonna do yet another story on the partnership with LISC? Make sure you don't forget the first one. Don't forget the first one, since this is the answer. So, I am here to share with y'all a commitment I made to my people. And I'm gonna say my people because y'all don't care. Y'all proved that tonight. Again, y'all can't even have a conversation. It's absurd. It's absurd. I made a promise to folks in this room that if by the end of this meeting we didn't have a solution, we didn't have an appropriate place for people to stay, a safe place for people to stay, that I was going out there with them, and we are going to pick the safest, most comfortable place to stay. And baby girl, when you come with handcuffs, make sure you take me first. I didn't plan to add this, but I am. My husband and I, we're organizers. We're also political hacks. We laugh about our dark side and our light side. And my husband last night was like, man, they don't even care enough to pretend to do something. Like, y'all don't even care enough to come out for the photo op. That's some apathy for real. I mean, I know somebody wants to sit in Mayor Hopewell's seat. Don't we need to at least look like we doing something? I would have thought, I'm gonna be honest, I see your hand up. And I'm gonna shut up real quick. I'd have thought, with all the folks up here who've been in politics longer than me, that y'all would have had the presence of mind to not let something like this get so big as to become a national conversation on homelessness and the way that these progressive cities, let me say that again, progressive cities treat the least among us. But y'all got my promise. We gonna take this national, and I'm gonna have a whole lot of fun doing it.
Commissioner Anderson? Commissioner Cooney?
So, I want to thank you for coming down tonight. And
We don't care. We're gonna say, make sure everyone said aye.
okay. Okay.